Hello, everyone. Hi, Genevieve. How are you?
Good, how are you?
All good. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're just finishing up setting everything up here, and we'll start shortly. Give everyone like another minute or so to join while we are finishing up the setting. Okay. Um, so we're going to start by a short introduction about who's going to speak and talk a little bit about the um, schedule of the meeting today, and afterwards we'll hear from, I'll give a short brief about Eagle Point Funding and Deep Tech Showcase and what we do, and then we'll give the stage to Dr. Lind, who will give a brief about NOAA and their programs regarding non-dilutive funding and SBIRs and anything else. At any point, anyone that has any questions in anything that you want to ask or say or participate, feel free to post your questions in the Q&A or in chat. Obviously, it will be easier for us Q&A. We'll do our best to answer these either live during from the Q&A or at the end of the session. Each person will answer their own respective questions. We also have preset questions for Genevieve that we may ask her at the end, but we'll see how it goes. So thank you again, and let's start. So I'll present myself. Afterwards, we'll let Dr. Lind present herself. My name is Eran. I'm the VP of Consulting Services at Eagle Point Funding. Eagle Point Funding, for those who don't know, is a company. We'll get a little bit more into detail with that, but is a company that helps companies secure non-dilutive funding from different sources within the government, together with our sister company, Deep Tech Showcase, who are helping companies advance their business development and overcome the death valley of small businesses. Dr. Lind, if you want to give kind of a few words about yourself and background before we start.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for having me here today. I'm Genevieve Lind, and I'm the program manager for the Small Business Innovation and Research Program, or SBIR, at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. I have a number of years of experience in the technology development space at the National Institutes of Health, in academic and private sector settings, and with the Small Business Administration as well.
Great, thank you very much. Again, we'll shortly we'll give the stage to Genevieve, and she'll give a little bit more detailed explanation about what she does and what NOAA is doing. But for now, let's talk about us. So again, as I said, we're going to have introductions and an opening presentation. After that, presentation by Dr. Lind, then some live discussions, Q&A, and open Q&A for the stage, as long as we have questions, obviously. Again, please post your questions in the Q&A section or the chat, so that it will be easier for us to track everything. So, Eagle Point Funding, in general, and the government as well, the vision is to bring more innovative technologies to the market by leveraging the power of the community. Our community, as part of Eagle Point Funding and Deep Tech Showcase, brings together technological startups that are developing their innovative idea and an innovative solution for a problem that is currently existing in the market, together with investors who want to invest in the companies to help them overcome these challenges, and obviously corporate and government stakeholders that also want to benefit and enjoy the technology and the innovation of the company who is working with them and with us as well. Deep Tech Showcase has monthly showcases where they give companies who are working with them the opportunity to pitch their solution to stakeholders and partners within the government and the private industry. The next showcase is going to be held at November 14th. It's going to be focusing on decarbonization technologies and solution, together with GC Ventures and Deep Tech Showcase. Anyone who is interested in hearing more should reach out to Brian, who is the one that sent you the invitations, or just send a message to each one of them, to any one of us, and we'll know who to connect you with. So apart from Deep Tech, as I said, apart from Deep Tech Showcase, who is focusing on the business development, Eagle Point Funding is helping companies to secure non-dilutive fundings to advance their technology innovation and get to a point where they have either a prototype or a feasibility study, a proof of concept, or a finalized project and development, product that can be sold in the market and also to the government. Some of the main opportunities that we see in the very near future from Q4 and Q1 include multiple opportunities, multiple agencies. Usually the beginning of Q1 is the time where all the opportunities or most of the opportunities are out. For example, the Department of Energy next week are going to publish their topics. And also we have ARPA-E and EERE from the DOE who are opening all the time with demonstration projects and large-scale projects. The voucher program is open right now, allowing past winners to secure more funding from the government on different aspects. NASA have both their SBIR opportunities and ROSES, which is the basic research program that is always opening and publishing new topics. Department of Homeland Security have their own SBIR program and their long-range BAA, which is open year-round, as long as the Silicon Valley Innovation Partnership, which is also open usually at the beginning of the year. Obviously, NOAA has their SBIR coming up, or even already published, which is due, I think, at the end of the year. The DoD are about to publish their next cycle of SBIR. The Air Force Open Topic is open now for phase 2 and should be open again at the beginning of the year. Army, NSF, bottom line, there are so many opportunities. This is the time to start. Usually at the end of the year and the beginning of the year is where everything is full of opportunities for companies. So this is the time, if you have not done so yet, please look into that and try to apply as many opportunities as you can. Eagle Point funding, as I said, is aimed to help companies to secure federal funding. Our key of winning and the main benefit of working with us, the way we see it, obviously, is that we know the federal government system. We know where to look for opportunities. We know how to write opportunities for the government, and we know where to put the emphasis to improve your chances of winning. Not only that, you saw how many opportunities are out there. So we try to submit to as many opportunities as possible that will be relevant for the company. So we don't stop only with one. We try to have 10, 15, 20 submissions per year for a company that is working with us to increase the chances of success, and also increasing the pool of money that is available for you. And we also help you write your story in a compelling way that is more geared and designed towards the key success factors of the agency. And we take at least some of the work off your hands. We know that you have other things that you need to attend when you're running a business. So we try to help you as much as we can and free you to the things that are more important, like running your business. So this is where we are helping the companies. When working with us, what we can offer, our KPIs, is to start working almost immediately within a few days of signing the contract. We try to set up a kickoff meeting where we start the process. We try to have the first submission within the first month. Usually it's less than that, depending on the type of the application and the deadline. On average, it says here, there is a double here, but on average 4 to 6 weeks until the first submission. Sometimes it's less than that. A company that signed with us for 9 months usually will get between 5 and 10 submissions. We had cases where companies were also able to do 20 submissions over 1 year and more than that. So there's no maximum to the number of applications that we go. As long as there are relevant opportunities, as long as you're approving the opportunities we're looking at, and as long as there is participation, there's no minimum amount of the number there's no maximum to the number of submissions that we're going to do. So this is very, very briefly us, Eagle Point Funding. Again, we'll put in the chat direct contacts for you to reach out to, and if you want to set up a meeting, you feel free to set it up with Brian, through Brian or through me. And now I want to give the stage to Genevieve. Genevieve, do you want to share it from your side, or you want me to share, and you will let me know when to switch the slides?
If you have the slides and you can share them, that would be great. I can just
okay.
navigate that way.
Sure. And okay, here we go.
Perfect. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for being here today. I'm excited to share some more about the NOAA SBIR program. Again, I am the program manager for the NOAA program, and we are one of many programs, as pointed out in the introduction, And so I'm not going to cover the details of eligibility or the key requirements of the SBIR program at a basic level. I recommend sbir.gov if you're unfamiliar with the principles of SBIR in general. Um, I'm going to specifically talk about the details of the NOAA SBIR program and share some resources if you're interested in learning more or connecting with us. Um, Next slide, please. So, if you're not familiar with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, our mission is founded in science, service, and stewardship, and is to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, oceans, and coasts, to share that knowledge and information with others, and to conserve and manage coastal and marine ecosystems and resources. Next slide, please. The NOAA SBIR program is looking for proposals for highly innovative technologies with strong commercial potential that fit in any of those NOAA mission areas. Next slide. So, looking at the key logistical details of the SBIR program at NOAA, we have an estimated budget of about $16 million, which we administer through a grant mechanism. We have one solicitation per phase per year, which is found through grants.gov. And this is also where applications are submitted. And the timing of this presentation is great because we do have an open solicitation right now, and it is open until December 20th. So I'm going to go into some of the details of that opportunity. The open solicitation is for our phase one competition. And in phase one, we are looking for new ideas that are ready for feasibility or proof of concept testing. These are going to be 6-month awards and for up to $175,000. We typically award between 15 and 30 awards per year, and our success rate ranges from about 10 to 20% for phase one. Um, our phase two competition at NOAA is a limited competition for phase one awardees only. These awards support full research and development of the technology for 24 months and up to $650,000. Because it's a limited competition and we award between 10 and 15 awards per year, the success rate is higher, between 50 and 75% for phase two. With the SBIR program, phase three refers to commercialization that follows on from phase one and phase two research and development. This can include government acquisitions, private sector investments, product sales, etc. But the key detail is that phase three is not funded with the SBIR specific funding. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the 2024 Phase 1 solicitation is available now, and you can find it on grants.gov. You can also find it on our website, which is easy to find if you just search for NOAA SBIR. The focus of Phase 1 is performing research and development, so it should not be for commercializing a technology that's already been developed or basic research that would not be considered towards the development of innovative technology. Um, we switched from contracts to grants as our funding mechanism. And with grants, we are looking for ideas from innovators to solve big problems in the NOAA mission space. So we're not looking for NOAA defined solutions to NOAA problems. And with the ultimate goal being a commercializable technology. And this is really key to keep in mind for the NOAA SBIR program. NOAA should not be the primary or the only intended customer of a proposed technology that you are putting forth to the phase one and phase two competition. Again, NOAA should not be the intended customer. And once again, our applications for phase one are open through December 20th, 2023. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that at a high level, the topic areas or the mission areas that NOAA covers are climate, weather, and oceans and coasts. We do provide some more specific information about the topics within the solicitation, and the 2024 topics are listed here on this slide. These topics were developed based on what is called the NOAA Water, Weather, Climate Strategy, which you can also find on our website. And this document is the high level priority setting strategic planning document for our scientific areas across the agency currently. So the topics this year are extreme events and cascading hazards, coastal resilience, the changing ocean, water availability, quality, and risk, effects of space weather, and monitoring and modeling for climate change mitigation. And in the next couple of slides, I'm just going to go into more details about each of those topics, starting with the extreme events and cascading hazards. Next slide, please. So looking at extreme events and cascading hazards, the challenge space that we're looking at is that communities across the country are facing enduring and compounding risks from extreme high impact weather, water, and climate events, which have become more severe and more frequent in recent decades. Some key areas under this topic area include extreme heat or cold, tornadoes, floods, coastal storms and hurricanes, marine heat waves, wildfire, and drought. Next slide, please. Looking at the second topic area, the problem space is that the U.S. coastal communities, economies, and ecosystems are increasingly impacted by accelerating changes at the coast. Some of the key areas within this topic area include coastal resilience, community preparedness, harmful algal blooms, and hazardous spill response. Next slide. The next topic area is the changing ocean. Changing oceans are affecting the nation's valuable living marine resources and ocean dependent businesses and communities. Key areas within the changing ocean topic area include marine health, ocean observation technologies, ocean health, as well as aquaculture based technologies. Next slide. The fourth topic in this year's solicitation is water availability, quality, and risk. The U.S. is facing emerging threats to our economic and national security and ecosystem and habitat health from competing demands for our increasingly limited and stressed water supply. There is a need for new observation tools and approaches that leverage the rapid expansion of available data and technology. Key areas within this topic area include drought, flooding, and water quality. Next slide. The fifth topic is the effects of space weather. So, the effects of space weather pose significant and increasing societal, economic, national security, and health risks to the United States and nations worldwide. Some key areas within the space weather topic include space weather observation and geomagnetic storms. And next slide. And the final topic in this year's solicitation is monitoring and modeling for climate change mitigation. Worldwide, there is now widespread recognition of the impact of greenhouse gas emissions on the climate system, leading to accelerated dangerous warming. Key areas within this topic area include greenhouse gases, climate impacts, emissions, and climate observation and modeling tools. Next slide, please. So, as you can tell from the mission description and the topic areas, the mission space is pretty broad across NOAA, and we like to say spans from the surface of the sun to the bottom of the sea. So, the types of technologies that we can fund can vary pretty widely. So I wanted to include this slide to show you some examples of technologies that have been developed through support of the NOAA SBIR program. For example, the red drone in the middle center of the slide was developed as a disaster response drone for underwater mapping and searching in extreme locations. Or in the center row on the right side, the radar image there is a technology that provides real-time information about hazardous weather and delivers personalized weather warning notifications. Or another great example, second from the left in the bottom row, this is a low-cost air quality sensor that provides increased data accessibility and combats air inequality. I'm not highlighting these specific technologies on this slide to limit you to these areas, but to demonstrate the wide variety of technologies that fit within the NOAA mission space. And the last slide, just going to leave you here with some additional mechanisms for contacting us or staying up to date with the program. You can email us at noaa.sbir@noaa.gov for specific questions about the SBIR program. You can visit our website where we have lots of great resources, including the ability to sign up for our email list for updated information about new opportunities becoming available. And you can learn more about success stories that have come from our program. And finally, if you want to keep up to date on where we're going to be and what we're going to be working on, you can follow us on LinkedIn and on Twitter as well. And with that, happy to answer any questions that anyone has today.
Thank you very much. While we're waiting for questions to be posted in Q&A, I have some questions that I want to ask, if that's okay. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the first question, you mentioned that the NOAA change from contracts to grants under their SBIR program. Does that, and you also mentioned that NOAA doesn't want it, the goal is not to put NOAA as the main or sole recipient or client or stakeholder for the technology that is being developed. Has there been any other, first of all, why is that? And the second question is, has it changed in any way the way to commercialization of the technology under the NOAA SBIR program?
Yeah, good question. I think there were a lot of reasons why we made that switch. The main one being is that we wanted to create more space for innovation and innovator driven technology rather than with the contract system. Usually those topics are much more specific and defined, and we're asking innovators to very specifically solve a problem in a way that we've defined as being the solution. um, I think the we've always historically been interested in a variety of paths towards commercialization, and we're still interested in, government contracting as one path to success. But I think we have shifted our focus to a degree towards more, private sector investment and commercialization opportunities for success with the technologies that we're investing in. Um, and we are trying to create mechanisms to support all of those variety of pathways and opportunities. I think one of the key components of that decision is that if you look at kind of the size of our agency budget, we are one of the smaller SBIR programs. And so if you think of kind of commercial success, having a single customer that has a very limited budget is probably not a great commercialization strategy overall for a company. And so even in the context of, just general understanding of commercialization, just specifically targeting NOAA as a customer is probably not the best avenue towards success.
Okay, so moving forward from that, as if I were a deep tech founder, a company founder, and I would thought of or think of engaging with the NOAA SBIR, what would be your main advice for me? Where do I need to put the emphasis, or how would you say, what should I look for? What should I be, how should I be engaging with you? Let's ask this. in this way?
Yeah, I think the key thing that I would recommend before engaging is make sure to do some research and see what information is available. We um, put together a lot of resources to help people understand the program, understand the kinds of ideas that we are funding, and hopefully from that the kinds of ideas that we're not funding. And so doing that initial research before you reach out to us helps us show that you are willing to put in the effort to understand, before just coming straight to us with questions. um, Most programs are accessible, so feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. Because we're not a contracting agency, we don't have any kind of blackout period around our solicitation process where we can't answer questions and communicate with folks. um, One of the key questions that we do get is this idea relevant to the NOAA mission and to the solicitation? And so we do have an optional letter of intent as part of our application process, in which you submit through a separate process. It's pretty simple and straightforward. You just have to submit a technical abstract and a short description of the commercial pathway, proposed commercial pathway for that technology. And we can provide a response, whether or not that idea is likely to be responsive to our solicitation, before you go through the whole process of submitting the full application package, which can be quite a bit of work.
Okay, so we're talking about a few weeks or a few days for an answer, for an initial answer as to whether this technology or project is in the scope of the program. What is the overall time we would say to get answers for the full applications? Are we talking about months, weeks, more than that?
Yeah, it becomes more difficult, especially if you want to have face-to-face conversation with us, because as we get closer to the deadline, our application, our calendars fill up and it just gets difficult. So reach out as soon as possible if you think you're going to have the need to do so, and don't leave it to the last minute, because we may not have the ability to do it if it's too delayed. Specifically for the letter of intent, there is a deadline if you are interested in that avenue. I believe it's November 22nd, but check the notice of funding opportunity for that specific date.
And how long does it take to get responses for the full application? The deadline is, we said, December 20th. So when should companies expect to hear answers on the full applications?
It takes us about 90 days to evaluate those applications and provide notification of award. And then there's usually an additional 2 months of processing on our grant side after that. So you would find out in 90 days whether or not you were being awarded. And then usually 5 to 6 months is when the award start date typically is.
Okay. And what is the process after an award? I mean, I know, for example, the NSF is awarding the companies, they're granting the companies 90% or so of the funds upon completion of contracting, and then the 10% is at the end of the project. The DoD is working on milestones or calendar time, or every month there's a set payment. What is your mechanism?
Yeah, for NOAA SBIR funding, grantees have access to the full amount of funds at the beginning of the period of performance. The Department of Commerce terms and conditions require uh, folks to draw down those funds on an as needed basis. And so you aren't submitting invoices, but you are drawing down the funds as you're spending the money. The key requirement around that is you're not supposed to have more than $5,000 on hand for more than 30 days without having, an expense to direct it towards.
Okay. Um, when we submit the application, we are submitting also some sort of a statement of work or objectives for the project. What happens to a company that was awarded, but then during the project they understand that either they need to change the work, they need more time, or they just understand that they're not able to completely perform what they said that they're going to do? Are they required to um, pay back or give the money back to the agency, or how likely are they to be able to change the scope of the work? What happens to them?
Yeah, good question. So, um, in our phase one process, we don't have the ability to provide any no cost extensions or anything. So we expect those projects to be completed within 6 months. Of course, this is a scientific endeavor, and science never goes the way that you expect it to. The key thing with grants is that the deliverable for a grant is not a technology or a service. The
Mhm,
deliverable for a grant is a report that comes at the end of the project. So, regardless of how the science goes, you'll be able to accomplish that deliverable and tell us, whether it happened, whether it was completed or not, um, whether it was on budget or not. And as long as you've completed the project in a reporting sense, you are then going to be eligible for phase two. Um, Depending on the success of phase one, maybe it doesn't make a compelling argument for a phase two application, and so that might feed into it. But generally, you don't have to provide us with the technology at the end of phase one to demonstrate that the work was completed as proposed. There's a formal process for a change of scope within that, and in general, because the duration of phase one is only 6 months and it's a fairly small amount of money, we don't see significant scope changes in phase one. Maybe more so in phase two, but there's also that ability to pivot between phase one and phase two with your proposal. But in general, scope changes are allowed, but they do need to be approved in advance of making that change with program staff.
okay, thank you. Um, as part of the reinstitution or reinstruction of the SBIR program last year, there was a change where there was a requirement to have more open topics as part of the SBIR program, and also to have more visibility into foreign ownership and partnerships, or any type of affiliation with from the companies that are applying for the SBIR. Has any of that affected your processes, the way that you structured the SBIR, the things that you're looking for in the companies themselves, and also in the topics and the way that you're publishing your SBIR?
Yeah, so we had already been moving towards more open topics when we switched from contracts to grants. That was part of the intent of that. So the legislation didn't specifically impact us in that way. We were already on that path. I think it only specifically required open topics from Department of Defense components, and so it wasn't a new requirement for us as well. um, I think the implications of the new due diligence requirements are still being sorted out, and but I don't think from the process of the applicant there's much difference. A lot of that is things that we're doing behind the scenes. There is a new requirement across federal agencies for companies to submit this disclosure form as part of their
Mhm.
application process, where we're asking them to disclose any foreign relationships upfront. I believe that form can be found, in a lot of places with a lot of different agencies' information if folks want to see what kind of information is being asked for. But that's really the only change, kind of from the perspective of the small businesses experience.
Okay. We have a couple of questions from the audience. First one, might you speak about the intersectional interest between NOAA and the Navy's underseas mission?
Yeah, for sure. The cool thing about the NOAA mission space is that um, we overlap with a lot of different agencies and the things that are of interest to us. Obviously, Navy and their undersea missions is one of those areas of overlap. um we overlap with NASA, looking at the space weather components, with Department of Agriculture, with the aquaculture and some of the other components. um we don't do joint solicitations with any other agency, and so there's maybe not an overlap at the front end of the process. um One cool thing about the SBIR program, if you're familiar with the opportunities available in phase three, there is an opportunity for sole source contracting. And once you get to that point, that sole source contract can be with any federal agency. For example, if you get a phase 1 or 2 award from NOAA, you could potentially then have a phase 3 contract with Navy if the technology is relevant. So certainly there's overlap, and when you're thinking about your commercial pathways and opportunities, keep other agencies in mind, regardless of where you're submitting your initial idea to. Um, we've also seen some technologies that were initially developed from other agencies receive phase 3 awards with NOAA as well. So there's a lot of overlap and crossover, and it usually is happening in that phase 3 portion of the experience.
Okay. But can NOAA become a client, or can NOAA buy a technology or become a customer for a technology that is as part of phase 3? Or again, because we said that we don't want to see NOAA as the sole participant or the sole recipient of the technology at the end. But there is a way to do as part of phase 3 or after phase 3 to do business with NOAA under the mechanism of SBIR.
Yeah, absolutely. NOAA can be a potential customer. We just don't want people coming into the program expecting that they're
Yeah.
building something specifically for us, and at the end, that's the assumed path. And so, there's certainly technologies that have relevance and are of interest to NOAA as a customer. We just don't want that to be your primary foundation of your commercialization strategy.
Okay, so basically, think big. I mean, don't focus yourself. Don't the idea is to convince the agency that that by receiving the award from NOAA or from any agency for that matter, the company can benefit from that and do business with other agencies, obviously, and it opens up both the federal government track and the private track. So this is kind of like something that is across the table for all agencies, in my experience at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, can you comment or give us a short brief about how IP is working here? What does the agency expect to get? Is there any access to the intellectual property? What are the limitations on the company who are working with you under SBIRs and maybe other mechanisms as well?
Yeah, so with the SBIR specifically, there are some additional data rights that are different from other federally funded work. The key part of that is that SBIR data and products are protected for 20 years under the legislation. Intellectual property belongs to the small business. It's not taken by the company. This is non-dilutive funding, so the government's not taking any equity or taking any ownership of the company as part of this process. Um, I think those are the key components of the intellectual property with NOAA specifically, and because we're using grants, the projects also shouldn't be proposed as a collaboration with NOAA, so we can't be directing the work under a grant. So it should be the intellectual ownership and driven by the expertise and resources of the company, and not expecting NOAA to tell a company what to do and how to do it with the intellectual property.
And how does the work with under SBIR with NOAA, is it in any way connected, or does it have any implications towards patents? That when if I apply for NOAA, does it prevent me to file a patent after I either submit or get an award? And also, do you expect to see technologies innovation that were already patented in some way, whether it be provisional, PCT, full application, or anything in between? Or does that not something that is concerned under your consideration, or is not concerning you?
Yeah, so the protection of the intellectual property is the responsibility of the small business, and kind of understanding when to do that and how to do that. We can share some resources. USPTO, Patent and Trademark Office, has some great resources. They have a website specifically for entrepreneurs. So if you're, in that entrepreneurial space, there's a great resource there. Um, there's no requirement for a patent upfront. And because we're looking for technologies that are really early on in that very early feasibility proof of concept testing phase. It's not likely that they'll have a patent yet at that point, but depending on the technology, they could. Um, it's important to consider intellectual property as a component of your commercialization plan. Protecting your intellectual property is a key part of being able to commercialize it and take advantage of that down the road. And so, certainly don't neglect that area of thinking about your commercialization plan and process because it's important to that.
Um, so after we submit an LOI, what is the type of feedback that we get? Is it we said that it's mandatory, but do I need to be invited to submit a full application, or it's just something that is kind of like a placeholder, letting you know that I'm going to submit? And what are the changes that I can do in my full application after I submit an LOI?
Yeah, so we changed our LOI process this year, so it's optional this time around. So it was mandatory the last 2 years,
Okay.
but this year it's optional. Um, we are not providing any level of merit review in that analysis of the letter of intent. It is only intended to indicate whether or not it's in the scope of the mission and in the scope of the SPIR solicitation. um, so is responsiveness is the language that we use. So whether it's likely to be responsive to the solicitation and therefore eligible to go through the merit review process, or not responsive, which would suggest it was out of scope of the topics or the agency mission or the SBIR program goals as well.
But if I'm deemed unresponsive, I can still submit a full application. And are there any cases where a project was submitted and was deemed unresponsive and still got an award, or is it something that happens?
You are not prevented from submitting if you get a non-responsive feedback. It's not likely to review well because one of the components of the review is whether it's responsive to the solicitation. Depending on how non-responsive it is, it may not make it through the initial sort of eligibility check because we're not going to review a project if it's fully out of scope of the application process regardless.
Mm,
um I think a part of that question was asking about switching topics. You
yeah.
could change a topic if you felt like one was more appropriate than another. um with our program currently, we don't fund a certain number of projects for each given topic. We really look at the technical rank of all the ideas overall. We do ensure that there is a good balance of ideas in the different topic areas, but historically that's actually just worked out well in the process of technical review. The best ideas in all the different topic areas rise to the top. So don't pick the topic area that you feel best fits. There's obviously some overlap and some ideas that may fit in one topic or another. Picking the wrong topic area is not going to be something that is the downfall of an application with the NOAA SBIR process.
Okay. Um, I think we are out of questions here. If anyone else wants to post a question, we'll give you a chance. But in the meantime, I just want to say again, thank you for the insights and for your time. And I hope that there will be success in this round, and you'll see interesting at least projects that come in. Um, and last question maybe regarding the total budget of the program. You mentioned that this year we're talking about $16 million. How do you see next year's? Is there any plan, any ideas how next year's are going to be? Is the budget going to be increased over next year's, or decreased, stay pretty much the same thing? Is there any insight into that?
We're in a little bit of an uncertain period with the congressional budget, and then also NOAA has received some pretty significant investments through the Inflation Reduction Act, through the bipartisan infrastructure law. Um, We're still in the process because with the way the SBIR budget works is we get a percentage of any money that is categorized as extramural research funding, and so we're still in the process of an agency in figuring out what is categorized as extramural research funding, and those significant investments could have an impact on the SBIR budget. Um, but we don't know at this point. So stay tuned for more information about that. But that's how that process works.
Okay, excellent. Um, so thank you very much again, everyone who's here, who has been with us, and thank you, Genevieve, for your time. I implore everyone to read the solicitation, go to the website, learn a little bit more about the process. If you need help, reach out to either us or NOAA directly, and I'm sure that you'll be able to get answers to your questions. And I think this is it. So again, thank you very much for everyone's time, and have a great day and
Yeah,
remainder
thanks.
of
Great
the.
to be here.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.